So we all know and love the Nintendo Switch, but a lot of people don't like playing on it handheld. It's always in the dock. Now, they made a version that's handheld only, but they never made a docked only version like a normal console, like the PS5. Well, I decided to make one myself, and I had the perfect Switch to do it with. So, without further delay, let's dive in. So a little bit of a backstory here. I've got a V2 Nintendo Switch and it used to work perfect, but one day it stopped displaying on the built-in LCD screen, but it would still work docked. So I tried loads of different ways to get it fixed. I changed the screen, found out it wasn't that. The connection, because sometimes they go bad for the ribbon cables, had that replaced, still didn't fix it. Then I got a good friend of mine, Acid, to change the chip on it, the HDMI to sort of screen switching chip. He changed that, it still wouldn't work. So I had a Nintendo Switch that would only work in docked mode. So that gave me the idea for this project. How about I take all the components out of the Switch and the dock that's required to get it to work and put them in a 3D printed console shell. So for all intents and purposes, it's a Nintendo console. There's no Switch part anymore because you can't switch. It's always going to be docked and it's always going to be connected to a TV to actually play it. Now there is a couple of people that already have done this, and I could have just bought one of their kits, put all the components in and happy days, but I wanted to design my own for one reason and one reason only. All the other kits that I've seen have been FDM printed, so PLA. But I've got a really good resin printer here and I really like Atomic Purple, as you know. So once we've got to the final product stage and everything's working perfectly, it would then be time to print it on the resin printer. So we're going to use the FDM printer because it's cheap, it's quick, and that's how we're going to prototype everything. But the end goal will be to print a translucent Atomic Purple one. You could put some lights in there and things, make it look really cool. Now what I'm going to do is probably cut this up into 3 separate videos because there's a lot going on, there's a lot to do. I'm going to run into issues, I'm going to have to reprint things. So I think what we'll do is we'll do it in 3 videos. The first video that you're watching goes over the project like we've done, but next we're going to tear down that Nintendo Switch, get all the components we need, basically go over what we don't need, and then same with the dock. So let's do that now. So it's time to tear down the Switch and the dock. So let's do the Switch first. As I said, I'm not too bothered about this Switch, that it's never going to be a Switch again, because it just refuses to output on the built-in screen. So as you can see, I'm tearing it down and getting all the bits that I need. We've taken out the motherboard, the power button, the SD card reader, the heatsink, the fan. We have taken out the cartridge slot, but we're not going to be using it. I'm now taking out the battery, which was a right pain to get out. I used IPA to try and loosen the adhesive. As you can see, we've now got the battery out. It's annoying that you need the battery, but hey ho. We've got the main board from the dock, and then of course we need the USB-C port on ribbon cable and the power sort of lead. So here's all the components that we actually need to get this working. Now we do have that cartridge slot, the top right, you can see it there. We're not actually going to be using that because I'm going to do a digital only, just like the Xbox Series S. The SD card will be used, and that's how we're going to save all our games from the eShop, but this is going to be a digital only version. I might do one with a cartridge slot later on and an OLED version, but for now we're going digital only. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, that's a lot of PCBs. That would make a great segue to a sponsor, PCBway. And you'd be right. Now I'm sure you all know who PCBway are. You design your own circuit board, you send them the files, and they bring your ideas to life at really competitive prices. They don't only do circuit boards, they'll also 3D print your STL files. So let's take a look at it in action. As you know, I designed the LuckFox Pico case. So let's drag and drop that STL file across, and you can find this file on Thingiverse, again link in the description. We're going to set it to PLA and we want 1, and then of course you can change the colours if you so wish. Then all we need to do is submit the request and then hit agree, and then what will happen is a member of the PCBway team will have a look at your STL file, make sure there's no issues with it, and once they've approved it, you can then proceed to the checkout and order your print. So I just want to thank PCBway for being today's sponsor. So that's all the components we're going to need. Not that much, to be fair, but we do still need the battery. It's annoying, I know. It will be good if we didn't need to use it, but it needs to be in there. I don't think the Switch will be very happy if it's not. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to jump on the PC, because I'm going to be designing this case in a program called Tinkercad. It's web-based, absolutely free, and I've designed quite a few things on it already, and I actually really like it. It's quite easy, it is very basic, but it's going to do the job nicely for making this case. So this is Tinkercad. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff on here, but the main thing we're looking at is this shell here. So this is actually the second case, because the first one here, there was a lot wrong with it, and a lot that I needed to change. So this is how far we've got so far. Now I've got a 3D model of the motherboard of the Switch, which we can place in there. So that's where the motherboard's going to go. We have a battery that we can pop in here. This is the rough dimensions of the fan. And then we have the heatsink, which obviously goes round and connects to the APU. And this is the rough shape of the dock, which is going to, well, I say the dock, I mean the dock main board, which is going to go here. And as you can see, we've got a sort of a cutout for the vent, for the heatsink, USB-C, USB 3, and the HDMI. And then on the front, we are going to have NX Pro. We've got a little button here, which is probably going to go this side to turn it on and off, and then some kind of LED on the front. But that's the rough design we're going for. And then this will be the top, which will then be aligned like so. And I don't know if I should actually print this in a different color. I don't know, maybe it might be nice to have a contrasting colour. But this is how far we've got. There's still a lot of stuff to change. There's still a lot of stuff we have to sort of incorporate. For example, we have the power button, and I do want to use the original one. And then I need some kind of bracket to hold it in place, and then print a button. And then the LED needs to go in there. So there's quite a lot of stuff left to do. But we're making good progress, and I guess the next thing we need to do is actually print this out itself. So this section, and it's going to take about 9 hours. So let's go ahead and print that, and then we can have a look to see how it comes out. So next it's time to print off the first prototype. Now I knew this was not going to be the final design. There's still going to need tweaks. There's still going to need something to actually put the power button in. Then we're going to have to print a new button, and then we're going to need some way of putting that LED from the dock in there, because I want to have a power LED on the front and the button to turn it on and off. So let's have a look to see how that print came out, and then I'll just quickly put the components in the rough places that they're going to be going, just to show it off to you guys. And then we're going to power it on for the first time to see it actually working. So after I printed off the first case, I decided the best way to attach the motherboard, etc., was to use these little brass inserts. Now they are the exact same thread size as the original screws that hold the Switch motherboard in. And basically what you do is you apply heat to them, and we're going to use a soldering iron here, and basically heat them up, and they'll just sort of melt the plastic around them and then slide into there, kind of sealing it as the plastic cools down. This seemed to work really well, and this is basically how the motherboard is held in. So I've gone ahead, put the motherboard in, and then just kind of chucked the rest of the components in there. We can see that we've got everything in there to get it up and running. Now there is a few components missing, and the USB cable here is not going to reach the USB port on the Switch, but on the back of the device we can see all those ports, etc. Now there is a few things that I haven't got in here yet. So these two antennas, so the white one is the one that's normally at the top of the Switch, so that's going to get chucked in there somewhere. And then of course we have the other one, which I guess is going to sit in the front. So there is still a few things that we need to work out, get into place, but for now let's go ahead and actually get it powered up. Now, as I said, that USB cable is not going to reach, so we're going to have to sort of take it out of the Switch to plug it in. But I think going forward, the best thing to do is probably get a very short USB-C to USB-C extension cable. That way we won't have to worry about the positioning, because the ribbon cable here is just not long enough, and I don't think you can actually buy longer ones. So we'll just situate it here for now, and then we'll go ahead, plug in the HDMI cable, and that's just going to go to one of my monitors. Then next what we're going to do is plug in the Switch battery and then plug in that USB-C cable. That should be everything we need to get it up and running. And as we've seen, the LED light did flash for a second. So let's get this booted up. It should actually come on. There we go. So it is actually booting up and it is turning on, because the Nintendo Switch, if it's off and then you connect power to it with USB-C, it will automatically turn it on. So everything's running at the moment, everything's in place. Let's pull the camera out and go to a better position. So as you can see, we've got everything that we need connected. We've got a control pad connected as well. The LED light is on. Everything's working, and we can see that the output is coming on the TV or the monitor. And this is just a proof of concept, because there's a lot of stuff that's not actually connected. We don't have the cartridge slot, the 3.5mm headphone jack, the SD card. We don't have any of the Joy-Cons connected, the screen, touchscreen, backlight. There's loads of stuff we don't have connected. So it's really good to see that it's still working. So as you can see, things are coming along quite nicely. And I don't know if you noticed, but on the front of the case, it says NX Pro. And this is the name that I've given this project. NX because that was actually the code name for the Nintendo Switch when it was in development, and Pro because why not, everyone chucks Pro on everything these days. So I think that about wraps it up for episode 1, but if you want to watch the other videos, make sure that you subscribe, like the video, and then hit that bell notification so you don't miss out when they do get released. If you want something else to watch before then, click on one of these videos. This one in particular is really good. I'm JP, you've been watching Alien Gaming, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.